State Representative Mike Bayham joins us. How are you, sir?
Doing fine. How are you, Brian?
Doing very well as well. So take me inside the Capitol. Yes, well, I was inside the Capitol yesterday, but take me inside the House chambers where the governor gave his speech. Walk me through just the feel of the whole thing.
Well, the big hot topic was going to be what the governor was going to say about insurance reform, because that's the biggest crisis we have facing Louisiana. And to be brutally honest, we had 3 special sessions last year, and insurance should have been one of them, should have been the first one, truth be told. And the fact that it was, just the remedies that were proposed, which just run through the regular session versus the other ones, was disappointing.
Yeah.
And it did not recognize the priorities of the people of Louisiana and why we were elected. And I'm glad to see that we really seem to be tackling this head on, finally. But, we dealt with reapportionment, which I voted against the bill that came out of that. And we dealt with the fiscal stuff, which is important. But let's be brutally honest, I think people would rather cut their insurance rate than they would their taxes. It probably would put a lot more money in their pocket. But we were waiting to see what the governor had to say, and he said what he said, and I think it was a 90-minute speech, so it was pretty long. But hey, it is what it is on that front. But yeah, I mean, it just we all have our bills filed, and we're hoping to get something that works to bring premiums down for auto and property in Louisiana.
We saw last year, and even with not having a special session, I thought it was remarkable how much got done on the homeowners insurance front last year. I think y'all did a remarkable job on covering a lot of ground, fortifying roofs, making the market more palatable for insurance companies to want to do business here, setting things up so Tim Temple could do his job on that front. It's the car insurance front that we just can't seem to get past, Mike. Is it stacking up for that to be different this year?
Well, first of all, a lot of credit does need to go to Commissioner Tim Temple.
Oh, yeah.
Who spent as much time in the legislature as some of my colleagues. I mean, it got to a point where I jokingly referred to him as Senator Temple. And Gabe Ferment, the chairman of House Insurance, and Senator Talbot on the Senate side, they really did a good job as well. They should definitely have their efforts recognized. So there was a big push from the legislative side. We did produce a lot of bills, a lot of new laws, and we're hoping that the impacts of those laws will be felt this year. But part of the problem is beyond our control on property, because we are so exposed on the Gulf Coast. So much of the Louisiana coastline, faces the Gulf versus, say, Mississippi, which is about 70 miles of coastline. But and their topography is completely different. The water rolls in there and it rolls out. Well, here, if it rolls in, it's stuck there until we blow a levee or pump the water out. But yeah, I mean, we're optimistic that we have a lot of bills that are going to be brought up this session on insurance, and this is going to be a heavy lift on insurance. So the legislature is working very hard to tackle these issues, because I mean, we're all feeling it, personally, and our constituents as well.
Have you had a chance to dig in on any of your colleagues' bills when it comes? You've got one insurance bill, but it doesn't talk about either homeowners or car insurance. But have you had a chance to dig in on any of your colleagues' bills that would address these issues?
Yeah, I've gone through and I've met with some of my colleagues on it, and I know Representative Brian Glorioso's got a pretty good one, and I know Representative Mellerine's got some good bills as well. So we got to see what gets out of committee. Almost all of the legislators utilized their 5 bills that are non-fiscal related. So there's a lot to take in, and we'll see what gets out of the respective insurance committees on both sides.
Got Michael Mellerine slated to join me tomorrow. I believe in this segment, actually. because yeah, his bill is one of the ones he's got is going to move the needle, to be sure.
Yeah, well, Michael's been he's a freshman, he's a young man, but I tell you what, he's hit the ground running, and Michael's a sharp guy, and I know he's fearless on pushing the agenda to try to make things affordable for Louisianians, and a lot of us were very proud of what he did last year. We're going to back him up this year.
State Representative Mike Bayham is with us, representing St. Bernard Parish. You mentioned something right there that, if I'm being completely honest, Mike, is going to be an underlying theme of this whole session. When you reference Representative Mallory, you said he's a freshman. You're in the same class as him. Y'all have the class of 23 is poised to just, kick the entire Capitol over this year. Y'all had baptism by fire last year with 3 specials in a regular session. And now, as I understand it, there's a level of communication between y'all. There's a level of, I don't want to say full on fraternity between y'all, but understanding, to be sure, that we are poised y'all are poised as a class to really move the state forward. Can you talk to me a little bit about that relationship that y'all have? Just y'all all came in together looking to do good, and the honeymoon's not over.
Well, some of us knew each other in advance of getting elected. Bamberg and I, Shreveport, we served on the Republican committee.
Yep.
Stephanie Burrell and Kim Carver were both in the Great New Orleans Republicans. Brian Glorioso and I went to high school together. So, a lot of us did know each other going into it, but independent of that, if a lot of our backgrounds, we all ran not because we were recruited, but we had the gumption to try to do our part to change Louisiana. And when I was running, and they had these committees that want to meet with the candidates, and they said, "Well, why are you running?" And I point blank said something that kind of took them by surprise, but I meant every word of it. Because I know a lot of these people running for the legislature. I'm excited the fact that that these people are going to be getting elected, and I want to be part of that team because I've known these people for a long time, 20 years or longer, and these are impressive people. They're professionals. We have a diverse background. Some of us are lawyers. Some of us are in construction. Some of us we have different backgrounds, but we kind of have the same spirit, and we want to see the state get better, and we need to make the state more affordable because Louisiana is hemorrhaging people, and we're going to lose a congressional seat in 2032 if we don't change the course of what's happening in Louisiana. So, we're all committed. We weren't recruited. A lot of us gotten in our respective races on our own, and there is a kindred spirit to reform this state, make things more affordable, make our state much more business friendly, and be a departure from the politics of the past that's cast a shadow over this state for about over a century now. We want to do things different, and I think this class is different because of how we came about running for office and what motivated us. And while we have different backgrounds, we all kind of have the same goal.
Speaking of those goals, and we got State Representative Michael Bayham with us. He's coming to us from St. Bernard Parish. Speaking of those goals, one of those goals does have to be a budget. It is a fiscal session. Insurance is going to rule the day, obviously, but how much work needs to be done to make up ground that was lost by Constitutional Amendment number 2 not passing?
This year, not that great.
Good.
And a lot of that credit goes to Speaker DeVilliers, who's a phenomenal speaker, and President Cameron Henry on the Senate side. So the good news is things aren't as dire this year, but we do have to work on the fiscal stuff. And I would imagine there will be another fiscal package. I made a suggestion after the defeat of the one in March, which I predicted was going to happen, unfortunately, and it happened at a more spectacular level than I could have anticipated. But that we would potentially have another opportunity to address things. But our presentation has to be better. We cannot mix different elements that have nothing to do with each other with the voters. Look, people like steak, people like ice cream, people like pizza, but they don't like them together between two pieces of French bread. We need to have something broken out where the voters can feel like they're not having the rug, the wool pulled over their eyes, and that they could digest these proposals in not a complicated fashion, because we have to win the public trust back. And that's an important aspect of governing, that you just can't assume people are going to vote a particular way just because they have an R by their name. That's ridiculous. Louisiana is not that partisan of a state, and that's part of our nature. And that's part of our culture. And look, I mean, we had a very conservative Republican for 8 years. Then we had John Bell for 8 years. Now we have another conservative Republican. A Republican win is not a gimme in Louisiana. We are not Texas in that respect. And I think this is the first year we've had every Republican, every statewide elected official is a Republican. That's the first time in Louisiana history we've had that. So, we have to earn that trust. So we've got to present things in a way where the people can see that we're dealing with them squarely and plainly, and that there's no hidden, language or hidden agenda or small print. And I think if we do that, then I think the public will embrace what we're trying to do.
I got to jump in, Mike, because I completely disagree with you. Y'all did not lose the trust of the public. Y'all are the freshman class. Y'all are new. The people who jacked up the state constitution over the course of the last 50 years, they're the ones that lost the trust, because you have the title state representative. You're taking on that responsibility, and I appreciate it. But you didn't do this. Emily Chenevert didn't do this. Roger Wilder didn't do this. The newbies in the state legislature did not do this. The ones who jacked up the Constitution for 50 years were arguing against constitutional amendment number 2. The ones who lost the trust were the ones who were actually trying to shoot down what y'all were doing. That's why it made for such an uphill battle.
We've had a legacy of distrust that that should have been appreciated in our presentation.
Fair.
But the proposals we did were fine, but there was clearly a tone deafness in the way it was handled. And look, people have a right to be suspicious of our state government. Look at how many statewide officials we've had go to jail. I mean,
yeah, they all wrote that Constitution back in '74 too.
Right. So if we show up with something that does 50 different things in one sentence on the ballot, people are going to be rightfully suspicious. We need to do a better job presenting this to the public and recognize the reality that, hey, Louisiana has a past. We need to be mindful of that when we're presenting, very complicated proposals to the public. And, I knew real quick, a little anecdote, and I pushed amendment number 2 very hard. And I think Julie Emerson did a fantastic job working so hard for that. And, I think it's a shame it didn't work out, because Julie is really one of our great leaders in the legislature. But I knew we were doomed on this one anecdote. So we had the Crawfish Fest in St. Bernard, and someone came up to me and talking about the amendments, and one of my colleagues just happened to be there, and we're going back and forth. And finally, after 5 minutes of me explaining it, said, you know what? You're right. You changed my mind. I am going to vote for amendment number 2. Well, my colleague sitting there with a smile said, oh, man, you see that? We changed our mind. I said, yeah, it took me 5 minutes of one-on-one conversation to sell it. I can't do that with 400,000 Louisiana voters within the next week and a half.
Yeah, no.
The distrust is there. We have to recognize it, and we need to build our messaging and our style and our crafting of the proposals around that cynicism. We don't have to like it, but we do have to recognize it.
I know. I'm over here trying to have your back, because you didn't do it.
Look, I'm not saying what we did was bad. I'm just saying that the policy was good, but the politics was not so good, and we need to be as cognizant about the politics as we are the policy.
Yep. Yeah, with too many entrances to the hen house were left open on this one for the fox to get inside. He is State Representative Mike Bayham. We need to get to your bills. Let's get you back right after Easter, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Hopefully we'll have some good progress made. Thanks, Brian. Take care.
I appreciate it. Thank you as always.